Welcome in to Rock Talk Sports here on KansasNation.com. There's no Dan Fulbright here. Solo show today. Sean Kellerman, we got a couple hits for you. Got Henry Greenstein coming up next segment. Also a little bit of Royals and Chiefs chatter. But first, we're talking KU football. Of course, KU and West Virginia. 5 o'clock on Saturday, 3:30 Crimson and Blue Show. You can hear Jayhawk Sports Network from Learfield. Big 12 opener for KU. It seems like they haven't played in forever. Ready to get back out there. And yeah, they're going to be sporting the black Warhawk uniform. So looking forward to that one. We heard from a couple coordinators and a bunch of KU players yesterday at the football building. Let's hear everything defensive coordinator DK McDonald said when speaking to reporters yesterday.
All right, we have Coach McDonald. Go ahead with any questions.
What were some of the points that you emphasized on defense during the bye week?
The big thing we emphasized, number one, getting healthy. Just trying to get some guys back in the mix, which we did, which was really good. Really excited about that. And then just the same fundamentals, communication, alignment, pursuit, tackling, those type of things, communication, those are the type of things that we always emphasize. So nothing changed there. We just doubled down on what we believed in and continue to get better at those things.
What do you attribute some of the tackling issues you guys have had so far?
Some of it, you playing guys who are getting paid too. Like, they get paid a lot of money to break tackles. So that's a big part of it. And then, we got to continue to tackle, and that's a part of the game. And that's why we emphasize playing fast, getting hats through the ball. So when we do miss tackles, other guys there to try to eliminate the yards after contact and different things like that. But when you're playing against some Power 5 guys who on scholarship too, you'll miss some tackles. So we just got to continue to get better at that. We will.
West Virginia, their offense goes incredibly fast. How do you go about preparing the guys for a situation where you're going against one of the fastest teams in the country?
Yeah, they do a good job with that. Rich Rod's one of the godfathers of that style of football. And so, I credit that to him. Urban Meyer was another guy that a lot of people kind of draw from there, and then Mike Leach. He was another one of those godfathers of this fast type of football. So, the way we practice is good. Because Coach Leipold does a good job preparing us with, two huddle stuff and different things like that. And there's different things we do throughout practice that kind of help us too. So, we'll be prepared for it, ready to go. And they do a great job of it. So it's going to be a great challenge for our guys.
Is 3 games enough to have a book on an offense, or do you still look back at past stops that Rich Rod's had?
Well, you always look back on past things that, every coordinator does and play caller does. So, Coach Rich Rod's been at it for a long time, and he's kind of done what he's done at a high level, and so you kind of look at that and study and try to get some things. The 3 games, what you look at is just personnel and who they have and who they're doing it with. But what they do is just what they do, and they're good at what they do.
Kind of weird, but maybe like when you go up against a lefty quarterback, how does that change your approach to defense?
Well, it changed just because a lot of plays you see going, maybe to their right, and I was going to their left. The tough part is to practice it, because if you don't got a left-handed quarterback on your, your roster, you've got your right-handed guys going left all the time, which isn't really simulating what they do. That's the toughest part, really for all of it. So you just got to flip it in your mind and understand that. And he's a good quarterback, and man, they got 2 left-handed guys, so 3 actually. Because I think 14 is one too, so they got some good players, athletic.
With Trey, when you got the chance to look back at his kind of non-conference play, what stood out to you most about what he was able to do?
Just his growth. Man, he's really turned into a great leader of our defense. He turned into everything that you want a Mike to be. He communicates at a great level. And then, when he hits people, he knocks them back. He's a really good tackler. He's really firm and solid. And so just appreciate, I think he's playing good. I'm really proud of him. Just proud of, like I said, his growth as a man. When he got here, he was really quiet. And I understand that being in a new spot. But now, his personality is really showing. And therefore, his game is taking off too. So I'm excited to see him get a chance to play against his old squad this weekend.
We talked a little bit about what Ben Golly had to do to get back on the field last week after the game. And I wonder what you see from that, and beyond that, what does it mean to his teammates and to the rest of the guys to see that kind of work being put in just so he can be out there?
Yeah, it's inspiring to everybody. We weren't quite sure what was going to happen, and really a lot of it just depended on him. And to see him kind of take the bull by the horns and really attack the rehab and everything like that, doing things on the side, but not also that, coming in doing a whole bunch extra. If you can't draw strength from that, then something's wrong for you. And even with coaches, like, it was inspiring to all of us to see a man do that, because a lot of guys would have, I want to say tapped out, but they wouldn't have played in that game. But he went out, did everything he could to go play, and he played a decent game too. So just proud of him, proud of the guts that he's shown, the fortitude that he's shown, and man, he's an example of what you want a lot of our guys to be, and that's a tough individual. And so I'm excited to see what the rest of the season looks like for him too.
Is there a notable lift to the rest of the defense? The other 10 guys out there when we got him back. Like, do you see that? Do you feel that?
Yeah, anytime you get a great player back, it's always a lift. It's a lift to me as a play caller. And so, I know our guys got a little more pep in their step when they saw one out there running around because they know what type of player he is and what type of plays he make. And so it was a lift to everybody. And like I said, I'm just really proud of the young man. He showed a lot of heart and grit. And man, you just that's inspiring. All my years of coaching, that's one of the most inspiring things that I saw from a kid.
DK, you have another starting running back went down, but then this kid came in and ran for a bunch of yards. What do you see from him?
He's a big guy. Big guy, runs hard, runs behind his pads, and so we're going to do a good job once again getting there, trying wrapping up, driving them back, driving our feet, getting hats to the football, and good thing for them. He's fresh. He didn't have to go through 2 games and different things like that. You could tell he was a little fresher than a lot of guys out there. He was Freddie Fresh Legs running around, so it's going to be a good challenge for us, and I know they're excited and they feel like they really found their groove with the quarterback. And then, like you said, bringing in the new running back. And so it's going to be a fun challenge for us here in the booth.
You mentioned Trey's personality. Just what's he like away from the practice field?
He's a fun guy. He's fun, got a great smile. He cracks jokes. He'll come up and make fun of what I'm wearing at times. He throws in suggestions, and also if you get after him, he can take it. And also he got a little something coming back. So he's a great young man. Like I say, he's turned into a great leader. And I'm glad everybody here on our team is getting to see his true personality.
The depth you guys have on the defensive line, how important has that been so far, and how important will it be this time?
Depth is always important everywhere. Every position is going to be even important this week because the tempo that they go. So we're going to have to play a lot of guys on defense, early and often. But the defensive line, like I said before, they're the engine of what we do. We need them out there throwing fastballs and the capability to throw multiple guys in there and be able to go and kind of dominate the line of scrimmage is a good thing. And I think that's something that's going to continue to carry us all throughout the season.
What have you seen from DJ Graham as he's kind of reincorporated himself more into the defense?
Yeah, DJ's turned into the guy that we all thought he could be. And, before he had a little bit of injury, the guy that he was. And so it's good to see him come back. And you talk about guys who's battling back from injury, he's another one of those guys, that's just continue to go. I know he's still hurting a little bit. But, man, you couldn't tell by the way he comes out and works and prepares every day. So it's good to have him back. It's good to have some maturity back in that back end to help us out with the young guys that we had who are playing at a high level also.
Missouri dominated the time of possession game. How difficult is that for the defense to be out there, extended period of time you guys were out there?
That's our job. Our job is to get out there and stop people. And we can't decide how we go on the field. We decide how we get off. And so we got to do our part in getting off the field and doing those things and stopping people on 4th down and different things like that. So it's that's our job. That's our responsibility, and that's why they're on scholarship and getting NIL. Their job is to get people off the field. My job is to call it to get them off the field.
What do you guys have to do better to get off the field on those 3rd and 4th down situations?
I think it's a combination of a lot of things. We got to do a better job winning 1st down, which we're kind of up and down on. The games where we're really good on 3rd down because we force people to 3rd and longs. And so it's hard to really get off the field a whole bunch if 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, 4th and 2, different things like that. So we got to do a better job on 1st down, maintaining on 2nd down. And like we talked about, we got to tackle better. If we had tackled the way we're capable of, we would have forced them in some longer situations and probably got off the field a couple more times. So that's something to really build off on and to grow and to challenge the guys on, and really excited to see how our guys respond, this Saturday in the booth.
What do you know about your guys now that maybe you didn't heading into the season?
Nothing really. They're what I expected, and I think there's more for us to give. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about what we can do and what we can accomplish. We know we didn't play our best game, and we were still in there to the end, ready to go and close to getting a victory. So, we know if we can clean up a couple of things, sky's the limit for us. But that's always what I thought of this group, and that's always what I tell the group. We can be what we work to be. And sky's the limit for us if we work for it. And so I'm excited about that. I think the guys are excited, chomping at the bit, ready to go again, and excited for the challenge of conference play, ready to go. So that's a lot of fun.
Austin Alexander and Jalen Todd, 2 second-year guys, been out there in some big moments already, playing a lot. What have you seen from those guys?
They stepped up to the plate, and that's why they're here. because we believe that they can do that. And so if we didn't believe that, we would have brought in a lot more guys to try to replace them. But we knew that they could step up and do what they're doing. So I'm not surprised by it. Like I said, for everybody, I think there's more that they can do, more they can give. And I think we're going to see that down the line here now that they got a chance to get 3 games under the belt and kind of see what it takes, even off the field, the preparation that it takes to get themselves ready. But I thought they've done a good job. They guarded some really good wideouts, and they continue to get better. So I'm proud of those guys.
For some of the guys who were on the field for 80-something snaps in the last game, like Weirich or whatever, how beneficial is the bye week for them from your perspective?
It's always beneficial just to rest your body, but not just that, just to get back and kind of just to reevaluate where you're at. Like I said, some guys had to reevaluate how they prepare for games. If they're going to play 80 plays, how do I take care of my body throughout the week? How do I study? How do I prepare my mind? Those things, so like I told the guys, we got to be a better version of ourselves coming out this bye week, and that's the goal. And so it was really beneficial. Like I said, we got some guys back healthy too from that bye week. So we're excited to try to get this full defense together and get them rolling.
Anything else, Coach McDonald?
That's KU defensive coordinator DK McDonald yesterday at the football building talking to members of the media. KU and West Virginia, the Big 12 opener. Seems like we always open with West Virginia. That's going down Saturday at 5 at the new booth. KU going to be sporting those black Warhawk uniforms, and excited to see what happens when the Mountaineers come to town. They're coming off an emotional victory in the backyard brawl. They were home underdogs, ended up knocking off Pitt in overtime 31-24. We're going to ask about those Mountaineers to Henry Greenstein, KUSports.com, LJWorld.com a little bit later. But also want to shout out KU Volleyball. Last night, they picked up a 3-set sweep over Wichita State. That's 4 straight sweeps for KU Volleyball. They head to Omaha for a tournament this upcoming weekend. 7-4, ranked number 17 in the country. So shout out to them. Henry Greenstein coming up. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Rock Chalk Sports here on KansasNation.com. I'm Sean Kellerman. This is not Dan Courtwright.
Nope,
it is
not.
also not Henry Greenstein. You're going to have Henry Greenstein on camera next segment, but we are bringing on a special guest, the man who's usually behind the scenes,
Right.
Easton John, who joins us to talk a little Kansas City Chiefs and Kansas City Royals. Easton, you're sitting in my chair.
This feels weird.
It feels weirder for me than it does for you.
Yeah, there's a lot of room over here. Like, I'm
Yeah.
I'm tight back there in the producer position, but now I feel loose right here.
Well, as you've seen with Dan, I don't feel like I have any room over here. He's
Yeah.
got one trinket
Yeah,
after another,
lot of
but
trinkets.
we're just keeping everybody guessing here. We are going through some improvements here at the
Yes.
Kansas Nation studio. So a little bit of a truncated show today, but I appreciate you sticking with us. We just heard from DK McDonald, obviously excited about Jayhawk football coming up on Saturday at 5, but the Chiefs are also in action. A certain quarterback for the Chiefs, Easton, is celebrating his 30th birthday
Wow.
today. 5 Super Bowl appearances and 3 Super Bowl championships for Patrick Mahomes, but first time facing a little bit of adversity, at least to start the season,
Yes.
right? 0-2 Giants Sunday night.
Yeah, it seems like just yesterday we just drafted this kid out of college, and now he's 30 years old, which is not old at all. He's still a young soul and still has got a long career left. But man, yeah, some adversity starting with this season. It's not what we're used to seeing.
Yeah.
We're not used to seeing Pat Mahomes and his team struggle, but with the elements that are out, like Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, you might have, maybe we were too blinded and thinking like, Pat can carry this team with Travis Kelce, Juju Smith-Schuster, Tyquan Thornton, but maybe we do need Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy to sort of finish the puzzle.
Yeah,
So,
well, it sure seems like Mahomes has been trying to carry the team,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you saw with his scrambles, he's been running a lot so far the first couple games, which he says he has in his arsenal. We've seen that throughout his career, but he likes saving that for situations where it's really needed or perhaps bigger games. He's kind of been forced
Yeah.
into action, not getting anything out of the running game either. That needs to change. Chiefs are 5.5-point favorites on Sunday night at the Giants. The Giants lost to the Washington football team in week 1, 21-6, a kind of a Giant type performance. But then, they lost to the Cowboys and they're also 0-2. They scored 37.
Yeah.
37, 450 yards from Russell Wilson. Again, Chiefs favored by just less than a touchdown. What's your level of concern, I guess, compared to what it was when you saw this game before the season started?
Honestly, it is kind of concerning because this Giants team is like a wild card. They could just go off at any point in time in the season and put up points like this. Yes, the Cowboys don't have the best defense right now, missing Micah Parsons, but you could see that, if you give this team a chance, they will put the big numbers on you. And that's what we saw against the Cowboys. And then, you saw them fall against the Commanders, and it's just, how do we evaluate this team? And I think
Right.
you evaluate how you would every single week.
Yeah.
If you're playing the Ravens, you would evaluate them the same as you are the Giants.
Yeah.
So I think you go in, as honestly establish a run game as soon as possible. And if that is not working, that's where it gets concerning. If Mahomes is going to have to be the leading rusher on this team, that's where it gets concerning. To where it's like, man, what's the problem here?
Yeah.
Is it Kareem Hunt? Is it Isaiah Pacheco not being able to find holes? Is it the offensive line that is not allowing to create these holes for the running backs to succeed? So that's just one thing that I honestly noticed last week that maybe we should implement into this week as well and sort of get better on that.
Yeah, well, the Chiefs' defense has been fantastic. That's what's kept them in these games. Only lost by 3 to the Eagles. I've seen a lot of optimism from Chiefs fans, which is good. Usually, you don't see that when a team starts 0-2, but I think people understand the situation. They see that this is an elite defense. You got to get Worthy and Rice back because it's been a lot of Mahomes. And yeah, like we were talking about with the running game, 10 carries, 22 yards from Pop, and 8 carries, 31 yards from Kareem Hunt. Got to get more there. Got to at least have an average running game to give Mahomes a little bit of hope. But yeah, that's Sunday Night Football, 7:20 on NBC. Chiefs and Giants. It's been disappointing the past month or so for the Royals as we transition to them. Easton, they get crushed last night, 12-5 to the Mariners. There is a positive that I'll get to on that front, but now you're under 500, 75 and 76. It's dang near mathematically impossible that the Royals are playing baseball in October. But, you got to give credit to the Mariners. They've been playing phenomenal. Dominic Canzone of the Mariners,
Yes.
5 for 5 with 3 homers last night.
Yeah.
Cal Raleigh, another day at the office, he hit 2 homers. We get to see Cole Reagans tonight, which is good. His first time in 3 months since he's been out there. But it's not looking like the postseason is going to happen. Hopefully, Reagans is able to get loose and at least feel good about himself heading into next year, as we not quite throw in the towel, but we're getting there. But it's nice seeing Carter Jensen, a local kid, hit 2 homers in his first one. I don't know how many homers I've seen at Kauffman Stadium. The angle that he hit at the launch angle, kind of going oppo taco, it was impressive.
It was once I saw the video, I was just like, but it's just the ball speed that just off the bat, and that's the type of power that he brings. It could be the weirdest looking hit you've ever seen, and Carter will just just hit it really hard and it'll fly off the bat and it'll find off the yard. But it's just it's great to see from our farm team that we're seeing Carter Jensen step up to the plate and provide these types of numbers for a team. And maybe this carries on to next year and that sort of balances out our lineup, because we've kind of seen this year that the lineup has been just like a mix and match. What is it going to be this game? But maybe we solidify something next year with Jack Caglione and Carter. But yeah, this is what I've seen with Carter, like ever since I've known him. Since high school.
Yeah, you guys go back.
Yeah, I mean middle school, high school, just him doing this, and he's spoke this into existence. He's been saying, I want to play for the Royals when I grow up. I want to do this, and he's put his mind to it, and look what he's doing.
Yeah.
And it's so cool to see. I was watching. I went to the games where he made his debut and stuff. Just seeing him like up on the jumbotron and walking up to the plate, and he's in a Royals gear.
Pretty surreal.
It's surreal, and it's just like he spoke this into existence, and hats off to him.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, not a lot of guys hit their first big league homer and then also hit their second big league homer in the same game. Carter Jensen did that last night. Unfortunately, wasn't a win. We're not going to give up totally yet, but it's looking bleak for the Royals now. A game under 500, and a really hot Mariners team put it on them last night. We'll see what Cole Reagans and company can do, and maybe the Royals have one streak of wins coming and can somehow sneak their way in, but a tall task at this point. Hey, we're having a truncated show today on Rock Chalk Sports due to some improvements happening over here at the Kansas Nation studio and a company event tonight. But make sure you stick around next segment. We're going to bring on Henry Greenstein, KUSports.com, and the Lawrence Journal World. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to Rock Chalk Sports here on KansasNation.com. A very special guest has joined me here on set. It is not Dan Courtwright. It is Henry Greenstein, KUSports.com and the Lawrence Journal World. You're not quite as comfortable, it seems, because you don't get the cozy couch that you generally do. But appreciate you joining me today.
I feel so comfortable on the show, Sean, but it is going to be hard living up to Dan's high standard
Exactly.
for this brief period.
Did you bring your half a dozen trinkets to add to our little collection here?
I mean, I love this, and frankly, my apartment is decorated much the same way.
Yeah.
With just random stuff that I picked up at various moments. So I totally approve of this decoration.
Yeah,
style.
we were talking about how before I got married, this was totally what my apartments looked like. Like, I mean, just KU stuff everywhere. And now they're all in tubs in my garage. And I was like, hey, well, we got to get the Bill Self bobblehead out here. We got to get some of these things. I do admittedly like Dan's little Jayhawk golf thing over here, but yeah, the trinkets not quite as welcome in my home as they used to be when I was living by myself. But yeah, a good spot for them here in the Kansas Nation studio. All right, well, let's talk KU football. Don't have a game to break down, and we are certainly not going to relive the last game KU played. So instead, let's hear from you, Henry, on some of the thoughts that we heard from the offensive coordinator, Jim Zabrowski, defensive coordinator, DK McDonald, and a plethora of players yesterday. Anything in particular that jumped out to you? Because bye weeks, we're going to have a lot of them this year, which is good, but an opportunity for growth for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the big storyline that stuck out to me, and just the one I chose to write about initially, was the high tempo that West Virginia's offense plays at. I think you're going to hear a lot about that over the next few days in public discussion of this game, because frankly, I mean, Rich Rodriguez has created the model for this sort of offense. It's obviously not the first time that KU's played against a team that wants to go no huddle and put the defense on its heels, but West Virginia currently number 2 in the country. It's getting a play in every 19.9 seconds. And if you look back historically at the offenses that Rich Rod has run, they're always in that kind of range. And, you know, we just saw KU's defense not respond particularly well to having to be on the field for 86 plays. It's a little different, I guess, when those plays are clustered closer together, because obviously there was a time of possession element with Mizzou. But I'm really interested to see how they react to that kind of style, because, you know, it's the first time they see it this year, but it certainly won't be the last. There are a few teams in the Big 12 that like to operate in that way. But if they get things going well, you know, I don't happen to think West Virginia has like a big play sort of offense. If they can halt the tempo by forcing a negative play on first down or into a perilous 3rd and long situation, yeah, I mean, it's great when the opposing team goes 3 and out.
Right.
So that's something I'll be keeping an eye on. I'll be interested to see kind of on the other side how KU reacts to West Virginia's sort of multiple defensive fronts. It's much like what we saw from DK McDonald early in the year, where kind of out of nowhere West Virginia started doing these sort of 3 down looks or 3 safety things. They've gone through sort of a similar arc, so I'll be interested to see what they can bust out for this time. Of course, I also think KU has an advantage by being the team coming off a bye week, in that it will have been able to install some offensive wrinkles to counter that. So I think there's plenty of interesting matchups to dig into over the course of the preparation for this game.
Isn't it interesting that when your upcoming opponent doesn't have a bye and you do, really, you don't necessarily care what they do in their game, but you're almost just hoping it goes to overtime.
And that's what happened.
And sure enough, yeah, that's what happened in the backyard brawl. They were underdogs. They came out and won. And I thought you brought up a good point. People were kind of joking about it in the Merconic Auditorium yesterday regarding the tempo offense, because some previous regimes at Kansas have tried to implement the tempo offense, and it works great, and it's a lot of fun when you get first downs. And when you don't get first downs, then your defense hates you. And it's just overall not happy. So, yeah, they play really fast. But if Kansas can be better on the money downs, like 3rd downs, then that could bode well for both sides of the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it'll be interesting to see. First of all, I would personally be surprised if Nico Marchiol doesn't play nearly every snap in this game. I feel like he's earned the right to not be benched mid-game with the way he led them to a win in the 4th quarter and overtime last week. So all that is to say, it'll be interesting to see how much he's able to get into a rhythm if he is kind of able to play uninterrupted as the starter, and how well KU can disrupt that if he starts to, I guess, be a more prolific passer than he has previously. And by the way, on the bye week thing, KU's going to be on the other end of that next week because Cincinnati's on a bye right now.
Right. Yeah.
So how that situation flipped on them.
Who knows? They're hoping for OT here at the booth. The Bearcats are, I'm sure. But yeah, interesting. And one thing that you brought up to a couple guys yesterday at the media availability, Henry, was the fact that Nico Marchiol, he's a lefty, and they weirdly have a lot of left-handed quarterbacks. But it is different because even if you're just playing a college football video game or Madden, things look different, from a play calling standpoint, and just the side of the field is flipped in your brain. It's a little bit different. So what kind of challenge do you think that's going to pose for Kansas defensively, if indeed it's Marchiol going the whole time?
Yeah, that was something that just kind of randomly occurred to me, but it is odd. They've got I guess last week Rich Rod said he was willing to use 5 quarterbacks. 3 of them are lefties. That's a lot of recessive genes in one quarterback room. But indeed, Marchiol is a southpaw. And for KU, they don't have any lefty quarterbacks in their room. It's one of those things where maybe you suffer a little bit from the reduced roster sizes, because I almost wonder if it might be something where in a different era of college football they'd have someone like that. But
absolutely.
But you never know. Anyway, I mean, these guys are professionals, frankly, at this point. Like they can defend plays that run in the opposite direction. I do wonder if the timing is a little different. The spin on the ball is famously different when it's thrown by a lefty. Yeah, just I guess something to keep in the back of your mind. I don't think it'll have a huge impact on the game, but besides like Dylan Gabriel a couple of years ago, you don't really see too many of them.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I know. I mean, you think of Mike Vick, obviously, and Michael Penix now with the Falcons, but there's just not very many left-handed quarterbacks, so it's kind of strange. Henry Greenstein, KUSports.com, the Lawrence Journal World, joining me here in the Kansas Nation studio. One other thing regarding West Virginia offensively, well, a week ago, they were a broken team, right? Because they didn't have Jaheim White, and you didn't know what the answer was at quarterback. Well, Marchiol goes out and had a fantastic game, getting the majority of the snaps at quarterback. And then Ty Edwards, 25 carries, 142 yards. That's going to play upwards of 5.5 per carry, a little shifty as well. So who knows? It could be, we don't know for sure, but it could be one of those things that we ran into last year where, there's a bunch of teams who aren't going to be very good. And now, who knows? Maybe West Virginia will end up being better than people thought. But Edwards proved that he's a Big 12 quality back.
Yeah, it's so interesting because West Virginia, I think they have like 80 new transfers. And when you get that many, inevitably you're going to have some with eligibility questions. And there were 4 key players who, until August 20th, it wasn't sure if they were going to play. And that includes Edwards. It was him, and then another one who's just going to make his debut this week, by the way, is Jamori Robinson, who was the American Conference Defensive Player of the Year last year at UTSA. He's an edge rusher who had 10.5 sacks. But yeah, going back to Edwards, Northern Iowa transfer. I don't think he was even on the depth chart, or if he was like a third stringer, and suddenly comes out and completely dominates against Pitt. This is not an easy guy to tackle. 226, I think. Kind of reminds me of that big back Illinois had this time last year. I think he was maybe even bigger, Caden Fagan was. But, against a team that has given up some missed tackles, and like McDonald said yesterday, you got to have a lot of guys around the ball. So if you do that, you have kind of an insurance policy. Same kind of keys this week for defending against Ty Edwards.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Marchiol, not a guy who's on paper going to run as much as Garrett Green, but 10 rushing attempts last week. That's going to be something KU's going to keep in the back of their mind as well. Obviously, sacks and everything plays a part in those stats in college football. But yeah, KU did a good job against Bo Pribula, at least making him throw the ball and not beating them rather with his legs. But that's going to be another challenge, and we don't want to relive Garrett Green last year in Morgantown, because that was one of the more painful losses for KU. What happened at the end of that one? Henry, let's flip over to the offensive side. KU and needing to get more from their run game. I was actually over talking to Kobe Baines when Jalen Daniels was speaking to the media. I know you had a chance to hear from JD. It's not Jalen Daniels to blame for pretty much anything. We need to get the run game going, and the defense needs to do a better job getting off the field. Did he speak specifically regarding the running backs, the offensive line, and what needs to help kind of him perform his best for complementary football reasons?
Not as much in the portion I was there. I felt like his remarks were pretty general about using the bye week to regroup and to get healthier. But we did hear about those vision groups from Jim Zabrowski fairly extensively yesterday. I think the offensive line has been a bit of a mixed bag for KU, and I think they'll be tested again this week, frankly. I mean, the defensive line, maybe we'll be saying this a lot this year. The defensive line is the strength of West Virginia. Maybe we'll
Yeah,
be saying
right.
a lot of teams, but so far that seems like it might be one of their best position groups, and that's before adding in Robinson, who I mentioned. You think about someone like Eddie Kelly Jr., a Missouri transfer who KU actually targeted at end in the offseason. They got a returning defensive tackle. I think they're 4th in sacks in the country right now. So once again, I mean, this young and rotational line is going to keep getting tested, but I do think they'll be able to bounce back, especially in terms of the run game. I really feel like they'll eventually prove that Missouri outing was an aberration, not something that'll be a pattern. And I think also Daniel Highshaw and Leishon Williams themselves will take lessons and have better vision maybe in this game than they did in the last one.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like we talked about earlier this week, and maybe even talking about last week, you look at the 9 carries, 11 yards for the running backs, for anybody not named Jalen Daniels. That is a small sample size. A lot of times you'll see 20 carries out of backs, and all of a sudden that number goes to 100, and you're thinking, all right, well, you got 5 yards a carry. Well, your first 9 didn't go very well. So KU just wasn't out there very much. But certainly, yeah, I would imagine an extra chip on the shoulder for guys like Highshaw and Williams, and KU's got to get that portion going for sure. Any other keys to the game in your mind, Henry, for KU? It's kind of a strange deal where the pundits, prognosticators, whatever you want to call them, like KU a lot in this one, and we haven't seen that too often. So maybe a little bit of a different challenge. At least, in the past however many years for KU football, saying, hey, you're maybe the hunted in this game. You got to defend home turf, and you got to go out and establish dominance.
Yeah, it's kind of strange because the books seem to like KU a lot more than like the predictive models, and usually those things are fairly aligned. I guess there's a little bit of that with a psychological element of it being a letdown spot for West Virginia and KU coming off a bye and stuff like that. But in terms of other keys to the game, I'm really interested to see what happens with Cam Pickett. 24 combined snaps the last 2 weeks, and as JD said, kind of defending him almost. He said he still managed to have a catch in every game. Indeed, Pickett had 2 catches each of the last 2 games, but if he's got 2 catches in 11 snaps, like think about how many he could get if he plays 50.
Right.
And we saw that. Like he had 6 catches for 77 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first half of his KU career. But seems like he's been kind of nagged by injury since then. And I just wonder if KU can find a way to more consistently incorporate him. West Virginia's got a decent secondary, but what we've seen is that Pickett's strength, a lot of it is being used out of the backfield in an interesting RPO concepts and such. So I do think he'll be one key player to watch. And also, can the KU tight ends continue their momentum from Missouri? I think all of them have acquitted themselves fairly well this year, and KU has shown that it does indeed have the depth at that position that it was touting coming out of fall camp.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's great seeing Deshaun Haneke get loose, right? He caught all of his targets, which was important, and hopefully all the pass catchers do that coming up on Saturday as KU gets back out there finally, take on West Virginia at 5. A quick word on some other sports. Henry, first want to ask you about Talon Kinney. We'll ask you more next week, of course, but announcing his college destination from a verbal standpoint a week from Sunday, your confidence level in Talon Kinney coming to Lawrence, and your excitement for him teaming up with Darren Peterson potentially in 2026.
Yeah, I'm sure KU fans will dream about that. But in fact, I mean, from what I've read, the pitch to Kinney is like, we're turning the keys over to DP this year. We can turn them over to you next year to some extent. And, Kinney is not like the same kind of once in a generation prospect, but he's still a 5-star, #1 point guard in his class, according to 24/7 Sports. Dynamic offensive force. He's grown a little bit, so he's got more size. You'll see him listed at 6'1", but he measured at 6'3" at the OTE Combine last week.
Wow.
So,
usually it's the other way around.
yeah, exactly. So, a lot of good attributes. You can see when watching him, like why Bill Self would want to mold him into a franchise player for the 2026-27 team. But yeah, not going to put a percentage on my confidence level.
Right.
But,
no, heaven forbid. You would never do that.
But if you read the writings of our various recruiting insiders and talk to people in the know, it really seems like this one's trending KU's way. Now, granted, I did see that Kinney's still on a visit to Arkansas, so we'll see if Cal has some sort of last-ditch effort for him when he's down in Fayetteville.
That's fair. Somewhere between 69 and 71%, if you had to put a number on confidence. Is that
well,
about it?
With Kinney, 67 might be more appropriate.
67. Yeah, you know what? That's well said. We have to see on that front. A week from Sunday, Taylor Kinney announcing his college destination. And then finally, just a word on volleyball and soccer. It's so strange that we haven't gotten to see these teams very often at home. That'll happen next week. But KU soccer opens tomorrow. Big 12 play at Oklahoma State. They haven't lost a match yet this season. And then they're back a week from tomorrow at home against Baylor. Love what we see out of Sophie Daw and of course, KU defensively in particular, but a great start for Nate Lee. And then KU volleyball, they pick up another sweep last night over Wichita State, 4 consecutive sweeps. They're 7-4, still ranked number 17 in the country. Just got to be feel good. Winning helps everything, right? You can take the moral victories and losing to good teams, but nice little stretch here.
Yeah, there are all sorts of things to talk about with these teams. I think Oklahoma State's a really compelling matchup for KU to open the slate. First of all, under Nate Lee, they've been great on the road, so that particular element doesn't necessarily, I guess, concern me. But, I don't think Oklahoma State hasn't gotten off to an incredible start to the year. They've lost to some kind of middling teams, but I don't think KU will take them lightly at all. This is a team that, by beating KU 3-0 at Rock Chalk Park last year, kind of set that late season winning streak in motion. That was what the game that Nate Lee frequently cited as like the point where they regrouped. And so I think that they'll take the Cowgirls seriously, and that'll be a fun one to watch. And then, of course, they got another week in case anything goes wrong to regroup before the home opener against Baylor. And then as for volleyball, we all sort of thought this was maybe a stretch where they could build up some confidence and momentum after having all those heartbreakers go against them. And 4 consecutive sweeps, a pretty good way to do that. They've been doing a good job of getting Jovana Zelenovic more involved than she has been. They've been doing a good job. Same thing with Reese Patak. I think I mentioned last week, maybe they hadn't been serving the middles as much, or setting the middles rather. She's had a couple of good moments. So lineup starting to get a little more consistent, and with conference play on the horizon, that's the sort of thing that Matt Ulmer would like to see, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, Ryan White, the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Week as well, and Molly McCarthy getting a chance to have some run, and she's been highly graded on some aspects as well. So yeah, KU volleyball, they head to Omaha. I mean, it's probably fair to say we expect 3 more wins, but we don't know for sure. Creighton's going to be difficult up there, but I like the chip on the shoulder element of facing them for a second time. So yeah, KU volleyball 7-4. Henry, tell us a little bit about what else you got going on. KUsports.com, LJWorld.com.
Yeah, we got kind of an intriguing arrangement this week where our sister paper in Morgantown has been using some of our content. We've been using some of theirs. So you kind of get a two-way perspective, I guess, on this KU West Virginia matchup. And so keep an eye out for everything that I and Spencer Ripchick of the Dominion Post have to offer. And then going forward, I'm working on a feature in the women's basketball realm. I had another one this past weekend. So some interesting stuff already there, and more to peruse in the days ahead.
Man, basketball season, you're going to have men's and women's basketball to go along with volleyball, soccer, football. It's a lot of fun now, certainly better than the off season where we had to belabor that for quite some time. Follow Henry on Twitter at Henry Greenstein, and check him out, KUsports.com and the Lawrence Journal World. Henry, thanks for coming on set here. And maybe we can get you to bring 3 or 4 trinkets next time, just to kind of addition and sprinkle some Henry Greenstein dust on our beautiful desk here.
I wish I had something that fit. Most of my trinkets are like brochures from like river attractions in Missouri.
Hey, believe me, Dan will find a way to make it fit with all of his other things. But yeah, appreciate you coming on with us. All right, that's going to do it for Rock Chalk Sports today. Thanks for tuning in on KansasNation.com. We'll catch you tomorrow. KU Soccer will be in action. Plus, we're going to have Brian Haney, the voice of the Jayhawks, on as well. Thanks for watching, KansasNation.com.